Waking up in a strange room, I found myself kidnapped, and the person who kidnapped me claimed that I was his mate. Chapter 5, Where Am I? I felt my senses coming back to me. I was laying on something soft, but my head felt like I had felt that hammer multiple times. If that wasn't bad enough, I could hear the annoying voices of people talking around me. I tried opening my eyes, but the damn thing wouldn't budge. I told you to knock her out. Not put her in a coma. A male voice shouted. It was familiar and angry. Well, you didn't quite give me specifics. Plus the doctor said she'll be fine. Just give her a couple of hours. Another male voice answered, but in a slightly fearful tone. I was scared of the first guy, and the anger wasn't even directed at me. A couple of hours. I swear to God, if she doesn't wake up, I'm going to rip your throat out. The familiar voice shouted, boiling with anger. Just calm down, the other guy started, but was interrupted by the familiar one. Calm down. I calmed down. My mate isn't waking up because of you. Mate? What did he think I was his friend? Look, the guy told the angry one. What? The familiar guy said harshly. She's waking up. The other guy said as my hand started to twitch. Leave. The familiar guy growled. I heard a door open and closed, and that I felt a presence beside me. The heat radiated off of him, and his scent filled my... I had no idea who this person was. Emery, please wake up. Then everything hit me like a wrecking ball. Everything from the beast to going unconscious to meeting Thane, and then him taking me back home. Except he didn't take me home. He knocked me out. My eyes flew open, and I was staring into warm brown eyes. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He said, taking my hand in his. I didn't reply. I only removed my hand from his and sat up. Where am I? I asked, gently. Safe, I swear. He said, moving closer to me. I asked, where am I? I screamed at him, letting all my anger pour out. You're in my house. No shit, Sherlock. I meant as in, why am I not in my house? Why are you still here with me? Emery, it's a long story, but you have to trust me. He said, moving closer to me. Don't you dare touch me. I said with anger lacing my voice when he was an inch away from me. He held a hurt expression, but I didn't care. This guy was psychotic. He kidnapped me for crying out loud. Let me explain, he said, moving back. Oh, trust me, you have a lot of explaining to do. Why not start with why the hell did you kidnap me? I will explain that you aren't in the best mental state right now. My mental state? You're the one that kidnapped me, I said, exasperated. I didn't kidnap you, he said tiredly. You didn't. So then why am I here? I asked, looking around for the first time. I was inside a bedroom, and boy was it huge. It was probably triple the size of my room back home. There was a door to my right, and I was fairly certain that door led out of the room. Can I have a glass of water? I asked, trying to divert his attention. Yeah. Anything else? He said as he quickly moved to the nightstand that held a jug of water and a glass. I didn't reply. Instead, I moved off the bed in a flash and ran to the door. I opened the door that led out to a long hallway that went straight down to a kitchen and living area. I didn't have time to think as I saw the staircase and bounded down as I heard Thane calling me back from the hallway. I chose to ignore him as I heard his footsteps not so far behind me. I dashed down the stairs that went on for about 2 flights until I came to the last floor and bumped into someone. Shit, I mumbled as I fell down. What are you doing here? Are you okay? A guy asked me. I had never seen him before, but he seemed to know me. He held his hand out for me to take, and he pulled me up. He was holding onto my arm when I heard an ear-piercing growl from behind me. Get your hands off her. I didn't have to turn around to know who he was. The anger made it clear. The guy removed his hands from me faster than expected and moved a good few feet away from me as if I held a disease. Thane came in front of me as fast as the guy moved and threw him a warning. If you ever touch or look at her ever again, I wouldn't think twice about sparing your life. As horrified as his words were, I somehow felt a sense of safety and security being this close to him. I think I may be going insane. Are you all right? He asked me when the guy left. I didn't know what to say or do, so I just stood as still as a stone. Are you hungry? He asked, and I still didn't reply. He let out a loud sigh and pulled me down the hall. Crap, I think he's going to kill me now. We walked over to a massive room that was the kitchen. It was every chef's dream. Thane pulled me to the countertop and placed me on a stool. What would you like to eat? I want to go home, I mumbled. Pancakes it is, he said as he turned around and began putting out ingredients. Why am I here? What do you want from me? Why me? I questioned while trying to will the tears away. He ignored me as he continued with his cooking. Why won't you answer me? I yelled at him. He walked closer to me and had a guilty expression. Emery, please, I will explain everything to you in due time, but please. Relax. Relax? How in God's name am I supposed to relax? You freaking kidnapped me, and you want me to be grateful. You know, you're really starting to irritate me now. Well, that's just great. I have no idea where the hell I am and you're irritated. Well, why don't you just kill me? Anything would be better than being in this hellhole with you. You think I wanted to kidnap you? You think I wanted it to be like this? I can see the hate you have for me in your eyes, and it's killing me. I know this is hard for you to understand and handle, but I just need you to trust me. Please. Thane begged. The sincerity in his eyes made me feel a wave of guilt for exploding on him, but I needed to know what was going on. I will give you some time, but this conversation isn't over, I said to him. He gave me a grateful expression and smiled at me before he turned back to his task at hand. So tell me about yourself, Thane said after a couple of minutes. No way. You're my kidnapper, remember? Plus you didn't answer any of my questions, so fair is only fair. I quirked at him with a smirk. Okay, I guess you're right. I thought he gave up on the conversation before he continued. But tell me, did you actually believe I would hurt you? Let alone kill you? He turned towards me and asked with a serious expression. I was compelled to tell him. No, so I wouldn't hurt him, but I must remember that he kidnapped me, so I went with the truth. Why, yes, I stammered. You were a stranger in the forest. What else was I supposed to think? I asked him. Plus, you did knock me out. I suppose you're right, he murmured as his expression fell. But I didn't knock you out, though. That would have hurt me more than it hurt you. He got a plate of pancakes for me and turned back with a smile while I was a bit flustered by his words. So, when do you plan on telling me what exactly I'm doing here? I asked once again as I began to eat. You really are determined, aren't you? He stated, but instead of anger he looked happy and almost proud. But to answer your question, I will tell you as soon as I'm sure you wouldn't run, he said mysteriously as he leaned in closely. My breathing hitched and part of me was saying, lean in, but the more rational part was saying to run. And that's what I did. Where to? Well, I just ran until I found a huge door. I dashed past numerous people in the house who all gave me curious glances. I dashed out the front door and was instantly surrounded by the forest and a road leading to God knows where. Just as I was about to run towards the highway of hell, something latched onto my wrist. More like someone. Thane. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He shouted when I struggled. What? I whipped around and asked. What do you want from me? I asked him. You're testing my nerves. I told you to give me time, he said, gritting his teeth. Well, I'm sorry, okay, but I just can't. I have no idea where I am. I don't know anyone here. I was taken in the middle of the night by an animal, and you expect me to be okay. To give you time. I can't feign. I can't just be okay with this because, quite frankly, I think I'm stuck in some nightmare. Is that how you truly feel? I answered confidently. Fine then, let's go, he said, and he started walking towards the forest. Where are you going? To explain everything. From the beginning. He told me with one last look before he continued towards the forest. Chapter 6, Out of the Woods. Thane walked ahead of me into the forest. I was a bit weary at first, but I needed my answers, so I followed behind him. He was angry. I could practically see it radiating off him, but at the moment I didn't care. Not knowing if I was going to get my answers or my impending death. We walked for what seemed like miles. So you're not much of a talker, are you? I asked to break the eerie silence. Thane seemed to cool down a bit, but he was a bit of a hot-head. He ignored me like I thought he continued to pester him. While we were walking, I gathered a few pebbles and began throwing them at his back. He didn't bother at first, but about a few minutes later he finally turned back at me. You do realize that it's not causing me pain, right? He rhetorically asked. Damn it, I muttered under my breath. But his hearing seems to be impeccable as he turned to me with a glare. I gave him a sheepish smile, and when he turned back to the trail I rolled my eyes at him. Not giving up on my scheming, I found a stick and did what I do best. Annoy the crap out of people, and in this case that person was Thane Blackwood. I began poking him all over, and first side to his back and his arm. When I went to poke his face, however, he finally snapped. He grabbed the stick and broke it in half. That's enough. Okay then, I said timidly, afraid of his sudden outburst. I backed away slowly, but he started to approach me. I retreated back until I hit a tree. Thane took this opportunity to trap me between his arms. I thought these things only happen in movies. I stuttered out because of his close proximity. He ignored my comment and said, You're really annoying, you know that. My mission was a success then, I said, staring into his beautiful eyes. Oh, so you were trying to get my attention, huh? He said, amused by my antics. There's a much differentiated meaning between seeking attention and annoying someone. I pointed out. Now there, darling, is where you're wrong. Why don't you just admit it? You feel something for me, he said with an arrogant smirk. You're right, I said, and his smirk widened. I strongly hate you. Now it was my turn to smirk. He let out an animalistic growl and bared his teeth at me. Now you really don't mean that now, do you? He stated more than asked. I'm not scared of you. I lied to him. Oh, you're not? He asked in mocking tone. Maybe I should be. However, I wasn't about to admit that and instead said, No, I'm not. I was nearly killed by a beast, so a man with sharp teeth doesn't scare me. Well, you never know. I could more than be your beast. He raised his eyebrow at me. You know, I said seriously, never in my lifetime can I imagine you as a beast. The thought itself amuses me, really. However, I could imagine you as an animal, more of a raccoon of some sort. I replied with a grin. You should watch your mouth, sweetheart. You could be lying to yourself. He replied, Don't call me that, into the beast is a dog, not a man, so don't sell short. I shot him a wink. He growled at me and said, So, what if I said I was the beast? Oh, I'm so scared. Hold me, I said with my voice laced in sarcasm. I'm not scared of you, Thane. Plus, didn't you say you wouldn't hurt me? I questioned. Haven't you heard? A promise is a fool's comfort. He repeated the exact line I said to him last night at the waterfall. So you're calling me a fool? I exasperated. He honestly looked demented and a tad scared. Wait, what? No. That's not what I meant. He rushed out. The entire situation was quite amusing. Deciding to play with his emotions, I faked cried. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you called me a fool. I sniffled as I covered my eyes with my hands. Through my fingers I could see the stupefied and panicked expression that Thane had. I luckily kept my laughter in as I saw that he moved his hands from the tree to my face. Swiftly I ducked beneath his hands and had enough space to escape. As I eluded his grasp, I turned back and shot him a smile. Must say, he is one stupid guy because his face still held that confused expression. I could have practically tasted my freedom as the wind blew through my hair and I ran in a random direction in the woods. I was free, and that was all that mattered. Of course, I was still confined in this illogical dress and my bare feet padded against the soil. My body was very exhausted, so I quickly became winded. I slowed my pace because I didn't hear any footsteps behind me, which means that I lost Thane. Mission successful. As I continued on my journey, I began hearing the impending footsteps I was unconsciously waiting to hear. I smiled because I was not going to find my way out here anytime soon and was glad that Thane caught up to me. However, it wasn't one set of footsteps I heard, nor did it sound like a human's. It was loud, stamping steps that trudged through the forest and sounded closer and closer to me as the seconds ticked by. Now I really wished I hadn't ran. I stopped in my midst as I heard one of the footsteps behind me. I slowly turned around, scared beyond belief, as I faced the mysterious sound. And there it was. Facing me was the beast. No, not the beast. This one was different. This beast had brown fur and yellow eyes. The difference was uncanny, but it definitely was not the beast from the night before. It was a similar creature, however, but this one had a murderous look in its eyes. I couldn't get over that difference. Even though this creature was undeniably from the same gene as the beast, this one actually looked like it wanted to rip me to shreds. The feeling of it watching me was very unsettling. I heard a low but fierce growl escape its huge mouth as I saw the large, jagged and sharp canine teeth bared at me. The sight of those ferocious teeth had me squealing in fear. I slowly backed away from the creature, which I can only presume was a huge wolf. As I stepped back, I felt the jab of something pointy and slightly wet and cold on my back. When I turned around, it was yet again another dog. Same color, a different colored fur with the same murderous look. Its snout was what jabbed me in my back. I was trembling in fear as 3 more of the monsters appeared out of the surrounding woods. All 5 of them began circling me as if I was their prey. I had a trepidation that the varmints wanted anything but to be my friends. Wild and crazy thoughts flooded my head as I wondered if the actual beast sent his circle of mutts to get me back or finish his deadly job. I'm going to die. I was absolutely sure of it. Even if Thane did find me, there was nothing he could do to save me or himself. There wasn't a bone in my body to prepare me for what these uninhabited, primitive and overgrown animals had in mind for me. I could have practically seen my life flash before my eyes. I let out an ear-piercing scream as the first monster lunged for my throat. I had my eyes shut tight, waiting for the painful impact. The kiss of death and the piercing, fiery torture as it ripped through me. But it never came. Instead, I heard a fierce, vehement, booming growl, and the next thing I know, I was being hauled away from the scene before my eyes. More of the creatures appeared, easily outnumbering the 5 vicious ones. I watched as they tore each other apart, from limb to limb. I watched as the gruesome sight unfolded before me. Bloodshed splattered everywhere and decapitated bodies lay lifeless on the cold forest floor. The horrifying images before me were unforgettable, yet I could not look away. I was dragged further and further away from the unpleasant and depressing situation. I had no idea where I was going or who I was going with, but I allowed them to escort me away from the murder scene. When we were out of sight from the horrid creatures, the person that saved me pulled me into his arms. "You're safe now." He hushed me as he cradled me in his arms. It was then that I realized that I was still screaming my lungs out. No. It's still out there. The beast is still looking for me. I nearly shouted at him while tears stained my cheeks. "The beast isn't out to get you, Emery," he assured me. "No, you don't understand. Those things back there, those monstrous beasts nearly killed me. It was the same vile quadruped animal that took me that night. They looked at me with such murderous eyes," I said, shaking with fright in his arms as if he could protect me. I pushed out of his embrace and looked him dead in his eyes. "You didn't see those abominations. You didn't see the evil that just surrounded their being. It wanted to kill me, Thane," I told him. A strange expression then crossed his face, a look of sadness and resentment. I was baffled by his expression, but before I could say anything, he pulled me back into the comfort of his hands. "Let's get back to the house." He sighed, but hurt was evident in his voice, and I had no idea why. I was utterly petrified by the experience and felt scared, stiff as if my feet couldn't move. When Thane realized my plight, he hoisted me up bridal style and held me as if my weight was extinct. Astonishingly enough, Thane, a complete stranger, comforted me, and I didn't oppose. There was something about his scent that made me feel safe. Made me feel this unwanted assurance that he would protect me from anything. I think I was gaining Stockholm Syndrome. In a matter of seconds, I could clearly see the bright, electric blue of the evening sky shining down upon us and the green fern no longer in sight. "Are we out of the woods?" I quietly questioned him. "We sure are, sweetheart," he assured me. Those simple words made the tears stop flowing, and I felt as I could finally breathe again. He carried me towards the house, and I could suddenly hear the quiet whispering of others. I didn't know who they were, but as much as I wanted to escape and gain their aid, I needed answers first. And Thane just so happened to be the only person who can provide such vital information. I planned on getting the knowledge I seek about this creature and then getting the hell out of this place. No matter what it takes. Chapter 7. Jumping through windows. This would be where you stay from now on. Thane said as I walked into the gargantuan bedroom. It was the same room I was in when I awoke after Thane had me knocked out. It was his. I knew it was from the spicy forest scent that evaded the entire space. I just stared at him. What happened out there wasn't normal. Those creatures weren't regular wolves. They were larger and fiercer, and they held this human nature to them. I knew that they came looking for me. He sent them. The beast. There are fresh clothes in the closet through the door on your right, and to the left is the bathroom. I have some business to attend to. I will send someone up to keep you company, he told me as he looked at me warily. Would you be all right by yourself? He asked as he approached me. Still shaken up, I automatically took a few steps backwards until the back of my knees hit the king-sized bed. Yeah, I'm fine, I muttered with a hoarse throat. He looked guilty for leaving me alone as he turned back one more time to look at me before shutting the door behind him, leaving me in the unfamiliar room. When I heard his footsteps dwindle away from my hearing, I quickly started rummaging through the room for any sort of communication device that can help me get in contact with my family. I checked the nightstands and the bookshelf and even through the sofas. There was nothing. Not a phone or laptop in sight. I sat down on the bed and sighed. When did my life become this complicated? Looking around the room, I took inventory of everything. The room had a really rustic theme to it, and it felt like home now. Snap out of it, Emery. This isn't your home. Besides the impressive fireplace, I looked at all the exit. That was most important at the moment. On the opposite side of the bed was the sofas, which was surrounded by large towering windows, and to the right of the bed was a pair of French doors that led onto a balcony. I sauntered over towards the windows that opened it to see how high I was. Looking through the window, I now realized why it was a bad idea. Besides being 3 floors high, I was immensely afraid of heights. You're not planning on jumping, are you? I was startled by the sudden questioning of a woman's voice that I nearly fell out the open window. Holy shit, you scared the living daylights out of me, I said, exasperated, as I threw my hands up in the air. I turned around to face a girl that looked about my age. She was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Southern belle. Did I scare you out of your pants? She asked sarcastically. More like made me crap myself. I muttered, but her hearing must be great because she laughed it off. Alpha didn't tell me you were a comedian, but I can tell we're going to get along very well. She told me. Who the hell is Alpha? I felt as if every minute time stuck here I get more confused. That stupid brute of an animal just had to kidnap me. But to be honest, he's no better than the beast itself. Oh, she drawled out. You didn't have the talk yet, did you? Her expression showed anxiousness if she said something she wasn't supposed to. If by the talk you mean the birds and the bees talk, then yep, I know what it is, or at least enough to make me want to barf. I made a nauseous face to get my point across. Still don't understand why that have anything to do with my situation. She laughed and replied, That's what they all say, sweetie, and the next thing you know they're going at it like it's going out of style. I shook with laughter at her innuendos. I came to a realization that this girl could be of use to me in gaining my information, but I had to gain her trust first, as well as her name at that. I'm Emery, by the way. I offered my hand. Bailey. I think you met my boyfriend earlier. Lucas. She introduced herself and pointed out her other half. I was confused because I knew no Lucas. I think you're mistaken, I haven't met anyone by that name. I told her. No, I'm sure you ran into him earlier today. He's the bet. She cut herself off again, but I decided not to question it. Yet, as she dug at my memory. Oh, that Lucas. Yeah, I remembered. I said as I recall the guy I ran into when I tried to escape from Thane earlier. By the way, did Thane send you? I questioned. She nodded at me in reply. I was infuriated. I can't believe that he thinks of me as a simple-minded, half-witted fool that needs to be treated as a child. How much I do appreciate you trying to take care of me. I can take care of myself, Bailey. I smiled at her to show my genuine appreciation. I honestly couldn't believe this guy put up a girl to take care of his kidnapped victim. What an idiot. I'm sure he doesn't mean any ill wishes, Emery. He probably doesn't want you getting into trouble. Running away or jumping from a 3-story building. She giggled. Well, considering I'm in hell, I might as well take a shower. Bailey started dragging me towards the closet as she said, "You're going to love your wardrobe." I snorted. I hardly doubt that any of the clothes in there probably would fit me. You'll be surprised. As she said that, she pulled open the double doors and left me speechless. This room just became more spectacular by the minute. The closet was grand. My family wasn't the type to afford such affluent things. I may have been blown away, but there was nothing I wanted more in the moment than my family. Bailey pulled me out of my daze and home sickness by tugging on my arm. On one side of the room held male clothing that I knew was Thane's, while on the other side was mostly empty. There were a few items of women clothing, but besides that it was all empty. Bailey must have seen me with a confused look as she explained what was before me. "Those are Thane's clothing, as I'm sure you're well aware of, and these are yours. Thane had me pick out a few pieces for you, but he wasn't sure what your likes and dislikes, so he said he will take you shopping soon." She pulled out the various clothing items and held it out for me to see what I wanted. I don't know if I should be flattered by his gesture or creeped out. I trailed off. "He really cares for you. You know," Bailey suddenly said. "Yeah, I'm sure everyone's kidnapper cares for them this much," I said, taking a pair of jeans from Bailey's hands. "And would you look at that, he even got my size down correctly, because that's not peculiar at all," I said sarcastically. "Just give him a chance. He may just surprise you." Bailey laughed. Then it struck me. "You aren't. I mean, they aren't keeping you here against your will, are they?" I anxiously asked her. "They are, aren't they? You're kidnapped as well." Oh my gosh, and here I was feeling sorry for myself. "We're going to get us out if you, I promise." She looked at me like I hit my head. Multiple times. "I don't understand." I cut her off. "You don't have to worry, I'm devising a plan to get us the hell out of here," I assured her. "Do they have cameras in here? That's why you are unable to tell me. Think once for yes and twice for no if they have kidnapped you as well." I whispered to her, waiting for her reaction. "I think you've got it all wrong," she started. I cut her off yet again. "You are kidnapped," I whispered, exasperated, as she blinked once while she was talking. Then she began laughing uncontrollably. "What? No, no. Emery, I wasn't kidnapped, and you weren't either." She continued laughing. Her answer made me felt like I was a part of some kind of sick, twisted joke that everyone knew the punchline too. Except for me. I was the one left sitting here in the middle of the laughter. "Are you sure you don't Stockholm Syndrome? I mean, with all the preposterous crap I've heard since I've got here. I wouldn't blame you." To my agent extraordinaire, Mylan Noban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. That full-headed crap is a part of me. But don't worry, I'm sure you will be rid of all your contemplative questions soon," she said as she handed me a towel. I could tell that I offended her, but she looked like she dismissed it quickly. Great, now I was guilt-stricken. Bailey helped zip down my gown before I entered the yet impressive bathroom and took a long-needed shower. I took the picture of my family I kept and hid it in the cupboard below the sink, where hopefully no one finds it. The soaps and shampoos filled my nostril with Thane's scent. His aura wrapped around me like a security blanket as the warm water washed over me. I let down my guard as I relaxed for the few minutes I could. I scrubbed my body clean of all the dirt that I trudged through in the forest. Sooner than I wanted, I walked out of the shower and wore a simple jeans and t-shirt. When I came out, Bailey was lounging on the sofa, mindlessly watching the television. "Great, you're done. Let's get you dinner. I'm sure Thane hasn't fed you yet," she said, shaking her head. I followed her out the door as she led the way in the mysterious house. "This top floor belongs to Thane because he's like the boss man around here." Bailey tried to explain, and I appreciated her effort, but I couldn't help wonder what she meant by Thane being the boss man. "The floor has his bedroom and guest rooms as well as a library, living room and kitchen. On the second floor are only bedrooms that belong to those that you must have seen around the house." That made sense because I wondered what all those people were doing in one house. "And the first floor has some bedrooms, the main kitchen and pantry, a huge living room, The main dining room where everyone eats, Thane's office and the infirmary. There's a backyard that has a beautiful garden, a huge yard. She explained the whole dynamic of the house. Where are we having dinner? I asked as I was worried about meeting all the unknown persons in the house. Don't worry, you don't have to meet everyone yet. She winked at me. I didn't like the way she said that because she implied that at some point I would eventually have to meet them, which unnerved me. Thane wanted you to be comfortable before you meet anyone else, so there's food in here, she said as we reached the kitchen. It was gorgeous, just like the rest of the house. It was a pity I couldn't cook, or else I would have spent all my time in here. Is Thane joining us? I subconsciously asked. She knowingly smiled at me as she said, no. This left me a bit disappointed for whatever strange reason. She laughed at my disappointed expression before she said, don't worry, you will have him all to yourself from tonight onward. What she said scared me, but it also gave me butterflies in my stomach. I think I may be the one with the Stockholm Syndrome. I helped Bailey make sandwiches for the both of us while we made some small talk. I learned that she was born and raised in this town. She and Lucas had been together almost for years. She had a sister named Abigail who was adopted, and her parents and her sister lived in their own house. Bailey was lovely, witty, friendly and extravagant in her own way. If I wasn't planning on busting out of here soon, we would have become best of friends. In the middle of our dinner we heard footsteps coming up the flight of stairs, which turned out to be Thane. He saw us in the kitchen and quickly walked in the direction of the bedroom without sparing us a second glance. My chest constricted at the way he acted, but I dismissed the feeling. Well, I better get going. I will see you tomorrow morning, Bailey said, and she waved goodbye and left me alone. After a few minutes of solitude, Thane appeared freshly clothed and dazed. Hey, he said, taking a seat on the stool next to me. Hey, stranger, I said, and he chuckled. Are you full? Do you need anything else to eat? He asked as he went to the fridge. No, I'm fine. I see you and Bailey have started bonding, he commented. Well, considering you sent her to babysit me, then yeah, I suppose we did. I looked at him and he held a guilty expression. I'm really sorry, but I truly sent her to keep you company. I thought you two would become great friends, he earnestly said to me. Well, if I wasn't leaving here soon, I'm sure we might have been. He slammed his fist on the countertop in front of me as he said, You're not leaving here. Whatever floats your boat, buddy, I said to hide my sudden fear of his reaction. I got up from the stool and walked away towards the bedroom. I could tell he was following me by the footsteps I heard behind me. When I entered the bedroom, I could see it was approaching night as the sun began to set. It was way earlier than my normal bedtime, but I was exhausted from all the dreary questions weighing in my head. As I moved the comforter on the bed to settle it, I could still sense Thane's behind me. If you think you're sleeping in here with me, I would castrate you. I faced him and held my stance. Of course, I was scared of being alone with a stranger in a bedroom. Who knew what this guy wanted from me? But I was going to fight till the end. Though something inside me told me Thane was the last person on earth to hurt me. But what did I know? It was a war between conscience and brain. He laughed and replied, Sweetheart, this is our room. To my agent extraordinaire, Mylen Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Meaning yours and mine. He slowly explained to me as if I was a child. I understand what you're saying, Thane. I'm not a child, I said, offended. I didn't mean it like that, he quickly said. Then how did you? You can take the room because I don't want it, you ass. I pushed past him and walked all the way to the first floor. There was no one around as they must all be having dinner. I spotted the huge doors that was the main entrance and exited. I wasn't going to run yet as Thane was only a few feet behind me, and when I plan on running, no one should be aware. I went to the edge of the forest and got comfy between the blades of grass and soil. I leaned against the tree trunk and watched Thane approach me in the twilight of the night. You know, if you liked my ass that much, you should have just said so. He gave me sass. I've seen better. Sorry to disappoint. I threw attitude. He was clearly bothered by what I said. So you're sleeping out here then, are you? He changed the subject. Yeah, it's way nicer than you are. Quieter for one, and with a lower criminal record. I said, testing his patience. Fine, you want to sleep out here. Then by all means go right ahead, sweetheart. He angrily turned on his heels and went to the house. And he left. Chapter 7.5 Thane Oh, V terrified. The great alpha of the Blood Moon pack was terrified. Never in my life have I felt like this. Like a wuss, if I was being honest. She terrified the shit out of me, and yet made me feel so powerful all at once. The tales I grew up hearing of what a mate's bond felt like had no comparison to what I felt when I first saw her. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. The name of my beautiful mate sent a sweet chill down my spine. My emotions were all over the place when I was around her. I was scared, in love, confused and filled with desire. She was different. She defied me and threw curses and tantrums my way, but that's what made her special. I mean, she annoyed the life out of me, but in the most precious way. No matter how anyone described the bond of a mate, it was profound experiencing it for myself. It was indescribable. It was powerful. It was this moment that I realized the saying was true. Love made a person do stupid things. And a fool I was. Instead of revealing to her what and who I am, I chickened out. She looked so vulnerable and tortured that I couldn't have told her the vital information she wanted. My father, grandfather and each other great-grand before me, each told their mate who they were a few hours after the ritual. But me, nope. I couldn't do it, and I still can't. The moment I knew Emery was my mate, I knew I couldn't let her go. And leaving will be the first thing she does when she finds out what I am. I was the beast that haunted her in her the night. The vile creature that overtook her dreams and filled her mind with nightmares. I was the demon that she hated with a blazing passion. It didn't help that she hated the human side of me as well. The adoration and impetuous love I felt for this girl had me on my toes. The hatred she expressed to me about the beast is what made me petrified of telling her. How can you tell someone you feel this gleaming emotion for, that you're the crazy beast that gives her goosebumps in the night? I fear that I'm not doing the right thing by not telling her right now. I feel guilty each time I look at her lost eyes. My chest hurts knowing that she feels like an outlander in my home. Most of all, I'm petrified of losing her. What I feel most guilty for is what happened to her not hours ago. The attack from the Rouges. Those were the real monsters. Those iniquitous, so-called wolves were the creatures she should fear. They defied everything that stood for wolves. Wolves are majestic, loyal creatures, and Rouges were those that held no importance for rules and regulations. With that being said, there are wolves who were made rouge because of attacks. Wolves and incompetent alphas, but the majority were runaways that didn't see fit following rules and staying in packs. Those were the creatures that almost took Emery away from me in a blink of an eye. I let her wander out there, give her a few moments to herself, and the rogues just had to attack. I had my pack devour them into shreds of nothingness. All that was left was wolves, fur and flesh lying on the forested floor. But I had them in Mate 1. I couldn't kill him in front of Emery's eyes because she would come to know what I am. The rouge that tried to lunge for my mate is the one whose blood I craved. After ensuring Emery was safe and had someone to watch over her, I left to complete my job. I left Bailey, my beta Lucas's mate. Keep my mate company. Lucas is my beta as well as my best friend. We grew up together since our days in Typers and playing with rattles. I demolished the beast that dared to lay his fitly paws on my mate. After the gruesome scene, I avoided Emery to change my clothing because it was splattered with blood. She acted very distant and cold with me, and I wondered if Bailey told her anything about our kind. Then I remembered that Emery naturally hated my guts. I watched as she moved the comforter on the bed to settle in. If you think you're sleeping in here with me, I would castrate you. She turned to face me. She really could emasculate a man. Her eyes had a glimmer of fear in them that I could tell what she was thinking, but I could never hurt her. Not physically or emotionally. It would cause me pain as well. I laughed and replied, "Sweetheart, this is our room. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Meaning yours and mine." I slowly explained to get my point across. "I understand what you're saying, Thane. I'm not a child," she said, offended. I quickly rejected that before she thought of me differently. I didn't mean it like that. Then how did you? You can take a room because I don't want to, you ass. She pushed past me as she walked to the first floor. I was a few steps behind her, giving her some space to get her anger out, but not enough to lose visual on her. Everyone was having dinner in the dining room, so she walked carefree out of the front door. When I went outside, she was sitting under a tree looking as if she was trying to get comfortable enough to sleep. I approached her. You know, if you lied to my ass that much, you should have just said so. She tried to make me jealous by saying, I've seen better. Sorry to disappoint. I was obviously bothered by what she said. So you're sleeping out here then, are you? I decided to change the subject. Yeah, it's way nicer than you are. Quieter for one, and with a lower criminal record, she said, testing my patience. Of course she thought I was a criminal. She believed I was a kidnapper. This girl is going to be the death of me, I swear. Fine, you want to sleep out here. Then by all means go right ahead, sweetheart. I angrily turned around and went to the house. I kept my eyes glued to her from the window. I'd had border patrol around the territory tight tonight after the attack, and I sent a few pack members a few feet into the woods behind Emery so she wouldn't notice. If she wanted a fight, that's exactly what she was going to get, but I had to ensure her safety above all else. Chapter 8, Speedy Recovery. Those darn mosquitoes. Every minute I drew closer to sleep, I had a new itching spot. Being this close to the forest, I could hear every crook, creak and flutter of the hundreds of insects squalling about in the blood-clashed darkness beyond the trees and into the unnerving forest. It wasn't the bugs, arachnids, arthropods, the chilly night air, the pessimistic itching, or even the hard soil and tree bark I lay against that I was afraid of. It was the lurking creatures that may be trudging through the forest behind me. I may have insulted Thane and left the house willingly, but I didn't expect the guy to just leave me out here. Alone. Enthusiasm. In the dark. Note to self. Don't let pride get in the way of my sleep. I sat out here for so long that the cool night had turned into a frosty midnight. My kidnapper didn't even have an ounce of chivalry to get me a blanket. I guess the saying was true. Chivalry fell on its sword. I felt as if the frostbites were giving me hypothermia. No matter how much bloodsuckers bit me or how much I froze my off, nothing stopped a girl from sleeping. It must have been way after midnight when I finally fell into a deep slumber. The last thing I remembered was hearing a low growl near me, then the sensation of someone lifting me up. I jolted awake by the itching in my nose and the feeling to sneeze. Rattled by the softness I was laying on, I sat up. I seem to be confused each time I'm in this room. I had a feeling Thane doesn't take no for answer as I laid here on his bed. I felt a fever on my skin and my crazy sneezing acting up again. I looked upon the nightstand for some tissues and I couldn't believe what my eyes landed upon. Sitting primed, proper and framed on the bedside table was the picture of my family. Thane must have found it last night and framed it for me. Grabbing the picture frame and looking down at their smiling faces, I was washed over with the feeling of nostalgia and homesickness. The fond memories and sentiment this piece of paper held brought tears to my eyes. That didn't help because my nose just became stuffy. I placed the picture frame back as I got off the bed. As I placed both feet on the ground and took a step forward, my foot caught on something, more like someone. I went tumbling forward as I heard a loud yelp of pain. I screamed as I landed on my right side on the floor with a loud thump. That's going to leave a bruise, I thought as I felt my side light up in pain. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Are you okay? Thane quickly scooted towards me to check for casualties. I looked up into his eyes and saw worry as clear as day written all over his face. But of course I had to scream at him. What the hell were you doing there? I yelled at him. Are you trying to kill me or get yourself killed? Hey, I'm sorry, he honestly said to me. I didn't think you'd have woken up so early. You really gave me a good kick there though. For some unknown reason I couldn't help but laugh at that. I must be mentally unstable. AWW, I yelled in pain as my side hurt when I laughed. Are you alright? But before I could answer, he continued. Come on, let's get you off the floor. Thane rose from the ground where he proceeded to lift me by holding my sides. Bad idea. I puffed out before I held my right side to somehow ease the pain. And of course I caught the cold from staying outside, so sneezing really didn't help my predicament. Thane looked a bit scared, which confused me. Maybe he didn't want his victim getting hurt by anything except him. But he was a strange man indeed. He kidnapped me, promised not to hurt me, and acts very kind and sweet. I mean, the dude even framed the picture of my family. But one thing that television taught me was that serial killers always had a charm to them. Thane was practically the poster boy for charismatic, polite, affectionate and cordial. It was practically a true crime story waiting to happen. He bent towards me and gently said, "I'm going to lift you from under your arms. Please try not to make any sudden movements to do any further damage to yourself." I knew he was right, so I let him do what he had to while biting on my tongue to hold my screams of pain. "To be fair, it is your fault I'm like this," I said to him. He chuckled and replied, "You're the one that tripped on me. You do know that, don't you? Well, you're the one that was creeping in my room," I said with clear pain in my voice as he gently laid me back on the pillows. "Don't forget you're in my room, sweetheart." He winked at me suggestively. "You know you're a real jerk," I said to him. "I wear it with pride." How egotistical. He smiled and touched my forehead. "You're hot," I snorted. "I know I am," I arrogantly said. "I meant you burning up with a fever." He chuckled. I blushed a deep red. "Oh, though your temper is quite heated." He smirked as he embarrassed me further. "And you're egotistical. You may want to try a bit of humility to solve that problem." I shot back. "Should I get the doctor here, or could you make it to the first floor?" He tried changing the topic. I chastised him. "Oh dear, did I hurt your pride and dented your ego?" I rhetorically asked. He gave me a serious expression before he looked into my eyes and chuckled. "Okay, I will give you that one, but only because you need a doctor." "Sure," I said knowingly. "And I can walk." "Come on," he said as he maneuvers himself to prop most of my weight as we got off the bed. He had one of my arm draped around his neck as he held me around my waist. We probably made it to the door when the pain became unbearable. "I can't go any further." I managed to get out as I rested all my weight on him and clutched my side. He looked down at me with a serious expression. "You wouldn't bite, kick or punch me if I lift you, would you?" "I make no promises." I breathed out as he gently scooped me into his arms, bridal style. This position was becoming a little too familiar for us. "Did I hurt you?" He panicked. I continued to hold my side as I shook my head no at him. Being this close to him as he carried me to the doctor eased my pain. I don't know how or why, but in some way, I felt a little better and the pain subsided. The situation I was in was strange, but Thane was stranger. He made me feel safe and somehow content and relaxed. Though I might never admit this to him, but I had unconsciously placed a certain rust in him. Even though he kidnapped me, I know that if he wanted to hurt me, he would have done it by now. He's protective of me, and I don't know why. I still don't completely put my life in his hands, and I still want to get back home as soon as possible, but as of right now, Thane knew things I didn't, and I had to get answers. All I can hope for is that curiosity doesn't kill the cat. "How did you even get hurt this bad?" Thane asked as he slowly walked down the stairs. "Too afraid to hurt me." I gave him a "you're kidding me" face. "Are you serious?" "You tripped me," I accused. "I didn't trip you. You tripped on me. Same difference." I rolled my eyes. "You're pretty fragile and clumsy," he concluded. I fake smiled. "Thanks, I get that a lot." "Who else told you that?" I could see that he was trying to contain his anger. "Told you. Overprotective. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "You and let me see." "You," I clarified. "Really, I was almost certain everyone told you that," he said with a smirk. He played it off as his anger left him, but I could tell something else was bothering him. I was about to ask him, but I was interrupted by all the staring aimed at us. They must have noticed my uncomfortable situation. "Don't mind them. They're just curious about you." "Who are they?" "They are all a part of the pack," he replied as if I knew what the pack was. "What's the pack?" I asked, confused. They're my family. Does your family know you kidnapped me? I asked solemnly. Are you ever going to drop that? He answered my question with a question. Are you ever going to answer that? I countered. He went silent and I could feel his entire spirit drop. That feeling unnerved me, so I continued the conversation. Why is your family curious about me? Because you're with me. That doesn't even make sense. So much for an explanation. It doesn't have to, sweetheart. I gave him a look when he called me that. What? He asked, smiling. I told you not to call me that. No, you said to never call you babe. I'm pretty sure I just called you sweetheart, he said, matter of fact. I glared at him. Okay. How about you don't call me any form of endearments? You can call me Emery. No, I think I'll stick with sweetheart. Emery is such a mouthful. He winked. You know, if there was ever a record for most annoying and stubborn person, you would be the record holder. Tachi said as we walked into a large room on the first floor. The room was white and filled with about a dozen or more beds, 3 of which are occupied. It smelt like the hospital which I was accustomed to. It brought back horrible memories of my sister's sickness and reminded me of my goals in life. Because of those unmentionable memories, I decided to become a doctor, but as long as I was stuck here, I couldn't chase that dream. Are you all right? Thane asked as he saw the uneasy expression on my face. Yeah. Just please put me down. As Thane gently placed me to sit on the bed and left to get the doctor, I could feel the pain completely disappear as I removed my hand from the area. That was strange. I tried turning, and even though there was light pain, I could have completely moved like before. You're the new Luna, aren't you? Someone to my right asked. I turned to see one of the 3 patients in here awake and looking at me. It was a boy. He looked about 20. I don't know what you're talking about. I told him. Luna. I kept hearing that word everywhere, and yet I had no idea what it meant and why everyone thought I was it. I was clearly not the moon. He looked a bit confused till something dawned on him. He hasn't told you yet. He mumbled. That you are the girl from the ritual, aren't you? Is that what I'm known as around here? The girl from the ritual? I embarrassingly asked. No, don't worry about it. However, you may not know this, but you are the most respected person here. His eyes told me he was being honest. Respected? I don't know anyone here. I'm Emery, by the way. To my agent extraordinaire, Myron Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'm Hayden. Don't worry, you have the rest of your life to know everyone. He smiled at me, trying to distract myself from him saying I have all my life, as if I'm staying here forever. I changed the subject. So, what are you in here for? I was attacked by a rogue something in the forest. What was it? I asked curiously. He just shrugged and mumbled. But I wasn't so convinced. How did it happen? I asked instead. I was just trying to collect some pieces of wood and it attacked me, he said, and I could tell he didn't want to talk about it. I heard footsteps coming back and saw Thane and the doctor return. I gave Hayden a smile before returning my attention back to Thane. He clearly saw my interaction with Hayden and held a pissed-off look but said nothing, miss. Akin, I'm Dr. Adler. Drive Adler looked like he was in his early 50s. You can call me Emery, I said as I shook his hand. Yes, well, miss, Akin. He chose to keep calling me by my last name. Thane said you were getting a pain in your side. What happened? Well, you see, Thane she tripped and fell. Thane interrupted me, and I gave him a death glare. And which side did you fall on? The doctor asked. The right side. But when I came in here, the pain was barely there. I informed him. Okay, I'm going to ask you to lie down so I can check your side. Is that all right? Even though I knew he was asking me, I could tell his question was aimed at Thane. I found myself looking at Thane for an answer, which was odd, but as he gave a curt nod, I found myself saying yes to the doctor. As the doctor examined my side, Ayu had a worried expression as he looked at the doctor. He must have felt my gaze on him as he turned to look at me, instead of feeling embarrassed. I was caught in his eyes. The doctor brought us out of our staring contest as he said, I'm going to gently press and you say if it hurts. I nodded my head and Thane gave me a small smile as he took my hand in his for support. As he started to gently press my side, I didn't say anything, but when he applied more pressure I whimpered in pain. That hurts. I managed to get out. I heard Thane growl and gave him a perplexed expression, but squeezed his hand in assurance. The doctor nodded. From what I could tell, there isn't any internal damage and the only physical problem is the bruise, which does indicate that you should be in more pain than from the immense pain Thane described you were in. There isn't any damage. It seems as though you miraculously healed pretty quickly. I was puzzled because I was never the one to heal fast. I always took longer than an average person. For instance, I once got a paper cut that took weeks to heal and it wasn't even that deep. Are you sure, Doc? As a pre-med student, I'm pretty sure no one heals that quickly, I said, flustered. The doctor gave Thane a knowing look before he answered me. Cases like these are pretty common. I'm sure you weren't extremely hurt to begin with. Again, I was shocked. I was in no place to question him because I only just begun studying medicine. But did this guy even have his medical license? I will get you some analgesic gel for the bruise. She's also running a fever and had the cold, Thane informed him. She doesn't seem to be over body temperature, but I will get her something for the cold. I sat up as the doctor walked away and Thane still held my hand. How do you feel? Well, the pain is pretty much gone, I told him as he checked my temperature. He was right, you no longer have the fever, Thane said. Just out of curiosity, he does have his MD, right? I quietly asked. Thane laughed at my expression but replied, yes, he's the most qualified person here, he guaranteed. Soon enough, drive. Adler returned with my medication and analgesic gel, which he applied to the bruise to ease the slight pain. When we walked out of the infirmary, Thane was still holding my hand, but with the continuous curious glances set on us from his family. I felt as if a lightning bolt of realization struck me as I dropped his hand like if it was on fire. I heard a low growl rumble inside of him as he walked ahead of me into the kitchen. I knew he was still riled up about me talking to Hayden. I just made things worse as he stormed through the halls. To some it may seem like he was a tad jealous, but to be honest, he was starting to agitate me because I know he wasn't. What reason would he have to be jealous? When we walked into the kitchen, I had to try to stop myself from laughing. There, standing right in front of us, was Bailey and Lucas in the middle of a heated make-out session. Get a room, I shouted at them. They sprung away from each other faster than I could blink as Thane and I began laughing at their obvious embarrassment. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Luna. There that word goes again, Luna. I didn't see a moon around the room. And about Alpha, what was that about? Thane and Lucas were having an intense staring competition, which was the definition of awkward. It was as if they were having some sort of silent conversation, which I knew was impossible. Hey, I said as I approached Bailey. Morning, sweetie. Want some pancakes? She said, avoiding eye contact with me since she was a bit embarrassed from being caught with Lucas. No thanks. So you two were getting it on in the kitchen, huh? I said, laughing at her dilemma. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Hush. She shushed me as she motioned to the guys who were right next to us. I want all the details later. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I said, making her promise. You're never going to let this go, are you? She more stated than asked. I loved how she just knew me without knowing me. Got that right? I winked at her as I moved around the kitchen, looking for some cereal. I felt a presence behind me as I tried to reach the cereal box on the high shelves after I had Lucas and Bailey left. You should be resting, Thane said as I felt his hands on my waist as he moved me to the side. I quietly went and sat on the stool as I knew he was already in a bad mood. Was he ever in a good mood? He brought my cereal to me, grabbed a high stack of pancakes for himself and sat down casually next to me as silence engulfed us. The only sound that could be heard was the crunching of my cereal and the sound of him chewing as we awkwardly ate in silence. So what's the plan for the day? I asked just to break the deafening silence. We're going shopping, he answered in a monotone. Shopping? I painfully asked. Are you okay? He asked worriedly. I hate shopping. I exasperated. That you're a girl. That's so sexist. I slapped his arm. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. He earnestly said to me. So are you ever going to talk to me? Am I not talking to you now? You know what I mean. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Actually, I don't. You're jealous, I said to him, smiling. No, I'm not, he denied. Deny it all you want. I know better. What would I be jealous of? He stared at me. I glared at him. Come, well, I guess if you aren't, I will just go back to the infirmary. Did I tell you? I made a new friend. His name is Hay, don't you dare say his name. He cut me off as he grabbed my hand before I could move away. So you are jealous? Of course I am. You're mine and no one else's, he declared. Okay, I know you are this super protective and definitely dominant male, but I'm not yours, buddy, I said, patting his arm. I beg to differ. I'm not your property. You do not own me. I own myself, and I'm not going to defy my morals and self-worth to appease you. I don't know who you are or what you want from me, but just remember that you don't own me, I said, leaving him speechless as I walked out from the kitchen. I had a plan in my mind. It was time for me to leave.